For a lot of people, selling sucks. In this video, we're diving deep into the metaphysics of sales, the unseen forces and ideas that shape the very act of selling and determine your outcomes. This isn't your average sales tips video. Success in sales goes far beyond just strategy, script, say this when they say that. We're gonna get a little esoteric, a little philosophical, a little intellectual, and then ground your success in action. If you've had any interaction with sales, you know how common discussion about mindset, manifesting, the law of attraction are. Many people find a religious or spiritual basis for their selling, while others in our industry reject these notions as woo-woo fluff. I'm going to take a slightly different approach, something that I hope can be additive to your current beliefs and expand your very idea of sales. This is the work that I did to get out of my own way and set in motion a wave of fortune. I hope you'll see sales not as a hustle, not as an embarrassing side hobby or a dirty necessity, but as an art form, an act of creation that expands our being on this earth. Go ahead and like the video. It means a lot to me and really helps our channel grow. And also subscribe to Selling Millions so that we can work together to expand your toolkit for extraordinary sales, mindset, and wealth. Now let's get into it. I want to address one of the biggest obstacles that people face in sales, and it's something that I really wrestled with a lot myself. The idea of selling out. The idea that by promoting our work and asking for money, we're somehow compromising our integrity. We start to get ourselves tied up in this internal tension that's deeply linked with our identity. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm not a salesperson. Why do I need to do this dirty thing selling? How pathetic it is to sell my work. If it was good enough, it would sell itself. These unconscious beliefs begin to rise to the surface. That sales automatically makes a person deceptive, manipulative, greedy, bad, evil. And so we cloak ourselves in this fear to protect us, to protect what we see as our inherent value and our value systems. Many of us have been raised with deeply rooted beliefs that tie money with negative qualities. Greed, manipulation, superficiality, these desires of the flesh, and in turn society has portrayed selling as bad, as if there is something wrong with asking for compensation for our time, our talents, our creations, as if there is something negative about profit. But here's the thing, there's no inherent evil in a transaction. It's not the exchange itself that's the problem. It's the belief that selling is shameful. That belief creates an internal conflict, one that makes us feel bad every time we sell, and this is incredibly limiting. Think about it this way, if nobody's buying your stuff, then there's no transaction and no selling out. But there is nothing virtuous about not putting something out into this world. There is no inherent good or bad about money itself. It may feel righteous to deny material desires, or intellectual pursuits, or spiritual well-being, but the desire to experience more in this world is an expression of life, to learn, to travel, to be fed, to be housed, to have time for leisure, time to make art, time to pray, time to learn a new language, to soak in as much as this one life can offer us. But there's a moralism that gets placed on top of these desires. There's a moralism that gets placed on top of money. There's a moralism that gets placed on top of the act of selling. The real issue is that when we're caught up in shame around selling, we deny ourselves the ability to offer true value. What if we reframe this? Instead of seeing sales as an uncomfortable exchange, we see it as a flow that brings value into other people's life and value into our own. A part of the expansion of your life, exchanging what you can contribute in this world with getting to experience more of it. This isn't just a mind trick. You're not selling out. Instead, you're buying into the idea of not just sharing value, but creating value. You can have the most amazing product sitting on your shelf. You can offer a completely unique service in this world. You can even have the perfect sales script with objections, the right things to say, and all of this only matters up until a certain point. Then you're confronted with this invisible line that you must step over to put those things into the world. The mastery of your internal self and your relation to your world is critical. Stay with me now. We're going to get a little woo-woo, a little crunchy granola. I'm going to draw heavily on a book called Transurfing Reality by Vadim Zeland. I won't give you a complete overview of the book in this video because we'll be here for 3 days, but I do want to ask you to consider something. Have you achieved much by battling the world for your happiness? Holding on so tight to your desire? This is where I want to deviate a little bit from the law of attraction. The idea that everybody gets what they want on demand simply by wishing for it. Not all thoughts can be realized and not all desires fulfilled. The reason for this is not the content of a single desire of a person, whether they are deserving or not from the universe or God or luck, but rather the quality, repetition, intention, and ease of their thought energy connected with their action. As the call, so the echo. Your thoughts always return to you like a boomerang. When you buy a new car, you start to notice around you cars of exactly the same make and model, more cars of the same color. You go on holiday to France, and when you come back, you start to notice more people speaking French around you. The shift in your attention has created a new perspective of the world, a new reality that you're living in. That's your thought energy shaping your personal universe, and the same thing is at play in sales. When you begin your day with doubts and worries, what if nobody buys? What if they think I'm too pushy? What if? You start to forge your reality for the day. As the day goes on, you might start to notice something that seems untangible. No matter how hard you work, no matter how good your demonstrations are, no matter how good your clients think that you are, you can't get them across the line. While your colleague next to you is operating calmly, closing deal after deal, commission growing higher and higher. Presumably, you have the same desire to sell, but the tightness of your grip on this thought is not the determining factor in the outcome. It's the quality of thought that matters, and the internal ease you experience while taking action. Sifter, coming from Turkish, is the first sell of the day. It's treated with some superstition, but it's a really powerful and interesting phenomena that we can dig in a little bit to understand more about sales. The goal of any seller or any shop owner is to open the day fast, to get that first win on the board. Logically, it makes no difference if you sell a product in the first 20 minutes or the last 20 minutes of the shift. You're still making the same profit. You still have the same commission. The earlier you open, the earlier you set in motion a wave of fortune, not because of some lottery of God or some moralistic determination about what you deserve based on your past suffering or work. The key power involved is the thought energy of the person carrying out the ritual, connected with the action that they're taking. This is going a step beyond just a wishful thinking. In this way, it's not the form that the ritual takes that is important, but the result, the outcome that it produces. The positive result allows us to see our own potential more clearly, to see the opportunity that's around us, giving us more ease in our ability to continually show up, relish the joyful energy that comes from the first stroke of success, and continue with that thought. It becomes like riding a wave. Conversely, the same is true. The more you worry about failure, the more it will be present in your day. If you don't open your day early, the more effort it takes to stave off this pessimism, the doubts, the insecurities, the distraction from the tasks at hand. All of these thoughts coax you away from the wave of fortune. Place pleasure inside of effort and cultivate a sense of lightness and ease with your thought energy and your actions. Holding on to these two lessons, that there's nothing inherently evil about sales, and that the quality of your thoughts determine your perspective and thus your reality, I want to fill the gap in the middle. I want you to think about how attractive somebody is when they're comfortable in their own body, instead of being tied up with shame and fear. It's also attractive when somebody knows what they want, when they're intentional, purposeful. But just because there is attraction doesn't mean that there's any action. And this is the same in sales. There's a step that we need to take between manifesting, attracting something into our life, and being able to act on it to make it a reality, to profit from a sale, to create value. We return to that point. I shouldn't need to sell my work. If it was good enough, it would sell itself. But as we've established, there's no moral virtue in locking away your product and waiting for your perfect client to come along and buy up all of your stock. I want to turn to the work of Alva Noe, a philosopher whose focus of his work is the theory of perception and consciousness, particularly in relation to art. For Noe, perception and consciousness are actively engaged processes, not passive experiences. His work often explores how we enact a meaning, and this has direct parallels with how we can use the sales process itself to create value, more than just the inherent value of a product or service. We don't need to be trapped by the fear of profiteering, the idea that we're gaining an excess profit at the expense of somebody else. In art, Noe discusses triangulation as the process by which meaning is created through the interaction between the artist, the artwork, and the audience. Each point in this triangle contributes to the perception and significance of the art. When you're looking at a piece of art, the experience that the viewer has is shifted when they're given context. Perhaps background about the artist, information about the artist's intent. Even if nothing has changed about the painting or sculpture itself, the way that it operates in the mind of the viewer has shifted. How I look at the art is going to be different than how you look at the art because of the experiences that we have, the references from our life being different. As a result, the phenomena of the art shifts. To put this in a different context, if you're watching a sports game and know nothing about the teams, you're just watching a whole lot of people run back and forth on a field kicking a ball into a net. And yet people pay for a ticket to watch this because of the knowledge they have about the history of the teams, of the players themselves, the context of that game, the sentimental significance of the idea of the team, everything that is surrounding the game itself. They are paying to participate in that experience, in the ephemeral. When the ball hits the back of the net, half of the crowd goes wild and half of the crowd feels disappointed. Even though they've both experienced watching the same actions, the emotional impulse that it creates is wildly different. Everybody has seen the same actions that could also be interpreted as meaningless, but the weight of the moment produces real emotions in the people experiencing it on both sides. Triangulation similarly describes the dynamic between salesperson, product, and customer. Each element brings their own beliefs, perceptions, intentions to the transaction. The value in the product or service is therefore not just the sum of its parts, a crude calculation of its component elements. Value comes into being through the interaction of intention, perception, and experience. The gravity of the problem that exists for the client and the solution that you have on offer. How their life will shift once they have this product or service. Their new, altered reality. This is the creation of something that transcends its individual components, where the sum becomes something greater and entirely unique in the minds of the client. This is selling the sizzle, not the steak. It's an exchange of ideas, a creation of value, as much as it is distribution of products. Sales is not the dirty end point. It's not a process of manipulating, persuading somebody to do something that they don't want to do, extracting something from them. It is a process of creating, shifting from a transaction into a generative act. It's a crucial link in the chain and deeply intertwined with how we experience this world. We have explored the metaphysics of sales through 3 lenses: questioning the notion of selling out, looking at the power of your thought energy, and viewing selling as an act of creation instead of manipulation. Each of these is about rethinking what it means to sell, not as just a transaction or an extraction of wealth that's fueled by fear or our tight grip on desire. By uncovering your relationship with money, the shame and unconscious beliefs that limit our action, combining thought energy with this action, we can do more than manifest sales. We can bring them into being. I challenge you to consider playing with these metaphysical principles. Approach each action with a focus on contribution, of value creation, and the way in which your clients will experience your product or service. The more aware you can be to your clients' pain points, to their current annoyances, their frustrations, their insecurities, and their fears, the more clearly you can articulate an alternative future. Let go of the fear and the shame. Lean into the power of your intentional thought and watch your sales process transform. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to keep pushing at the boundaries of what sales can be. Like this video right here. It's about how to identify and create a desire gap in your customers to prevent objections before they even arise.